Okay, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving break. Uh, Yesterday was Thanksgiving, a time for families gathering together. I was at my son and his wife's aunt's house, her aunt and uncle, and the uncle barbecued two ducks, which is not exactly traditional, but they were delicious. Okay. Hello, hello, hello again. It is the Midnight Skeptic coming at you again. And I will have some good news, some bad news for all of you, as always. The situation in the United States has not changed. After January 20th, we will be saddled with the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his clown car full of advisors on his cabinet. So let's get on with this. I'm going to play my play in music now. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. All right, says Matthew McConaughey, occasionally. In my own small way, as I've said on many shows, most shows that I start up this way, in my own small way, it is my goal, and it's not looking good right at the moment in our history, but it is my goal to rid this country of all GOP MAGA heads, conservatives, Christian fundamentalists, Christian nationalists, and Republican hate groups. And my little way of doing this is this broadcast, which I've been doing for about 7 years now. Okay? And I am on kpca.fm worldwide. So tune in and locally tune in on 103.3 FM, which reaches most of the areas in Sonoma County. And after I get done doing this broadcast today, which is Friday, November 29th, and it's about 4:20 now, p.m., you can see things that I'm talking about and see me ranting about things in an effort to enlighten my thousands and thousands of listeners out there. Okay, let's get on to the shout outs. First of all, as I usually start with, is Project Censored. And the three dudes that keep it going are Mickey Huff and Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth. Andy Lee Roth is a history professor down at UC Santa Cruz. Nolan Higdon, who I see on news broadcasts frequently now, more frequently. He is a history professor down at Cal State East Bay. That's down in Hayward. And then Mickey Huff, although he was a history professor here at across the bay at at the junior college over there. Oh man, I'm having a brain freeze already. Anyway, a junior college close by here, but good for him. He has been elevated to a position at Ithaca College, back east in upstate New York, and he's the distinguished professor of alternative media studies. I don't think that's the actual title of his position, but that's essentially what he's doing. Okay? And a little bit about Project Censored. It was started way back in 1976 at Sonoma State University by Dr. Carl Jensen. And it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And Peter Phillips and Mickey Huff started Project Censored radio show, which was broadcast from KPFA. It's a FM station over in Berkeley, California, and it became syndicated to over 50 stations across the United States. We got it here in Petaluma on this show. KPCA dash LP, which stands for low power, 103.3 locally. And he was on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock. So we were one of the stations that got the syndicated version of Project Censored. And go to their website and sign up for their newsletter. They come out every year with a book, The State of the Free Press, like 2024, which was this year's book. It's out now, but the 2025 version is at the printers as we speak, and it'll be coming out soon. Go to their website, projectcensored.org, and sign up, and you might be able to order a signed copy of the State of the Free Press book. Okay? And their newsletter is quite informative. And so much for that. Now, John Crowley, the owner of Aquas Cafe, which is located at the corner of 2nd and H in the southern part of Petaluma. He hosts a lot of events at the cafe. Poetry readings, author book signings, artistic events, ethnic events like an Italian dinner night, a Greek dinner night, and so on and on. Go to their website, Aquas Cafe, and see what's coming up. The ones that I've been to lately, well, it's only 2 times per year that this goes on, but Drinks with Shrinks is held twice a year, and I've gotten to know a few therapists over these 35 years that I've been living here and doing my private tutoring, which for the most part was not my main job. Fortunately, I had a paycheck and benefits jobs, but I had afternoons and early evenings off, which allowed me to do my private tutoring, mostly middle school and high school kids, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and just recently acquired a new tutoring student, and I had not been doing it for since some health issues cropped up. But now I'm easing back into it again. Okay. Tom Gaffey, the godfather of the alternative teen scene at the Phoenix Theater here in Petaluma, California. He is a hands-on organizer of events at the Phoenix Theater. On weekends, they host bands who lean toward metal and grunge. And if you're into that genre of music, go on their website and see what's coming up. But he was always a kindly uncle type guy that teens could open up to. And we need more of those kinds of guys in life in general. And I ran a drop-in tutoring office there at the Phoenix Theater for about 3 years. And it kind of petered out because, to be honest, the alternative teens that hung out at the Phoenix Theater were not academically oriented. Okay, Ralph Scott, who is the owner of Squeaky Cheese Productions, LLC. They are an audio book recording outfit here in Petaluma. Authors send their works to him if they want it to come out on audiobooks. And he was sort of the godfather of the Petaluma radio players back way before the COVID shutdown. Excuse me. I met Ralph Scott when KPCA, the radio station, was first being organized downtown at Petaluma Community Access offices. And he convinced me to come by their rehearsals, and they recreated radio plays. And it turned out to be quite fun, and we put on a few live readings of radio plays in the Hotel Petaluma downtown. And, with costumes, and there was 70 or 80 or 90 people that attended in the ballroom of the Hotel Petaluma downtown. Rabbi Ted Feldman, who is retired now, but he was the rabbi at B'nai Israel here in Petaluma. And my wife, my late wife, who was Jewish, and I would occasionally go to his night classes and other events that B'nai Israel hosted, dinners for various Jewish holidays. And I learned quite a bit about Jewish religious practices, quite a lot about the state of Israel and its history, and the history of Zionism. And I'm not religious at all, of any kind of religion. I think they're all, I don't know, it might anger some of my listeners, but so what? I think religions, all of them, are just kind of silly. But the Zionist movement has had some unfortunate negative consequences for a lot of people of all religious stripes over in the Middle East. Okay, enough of that. I will go into a little bit of that history of that area toward the end of the show. And I met Art Kutznetz there, and Tim Conrad, who was in my class up at Sonora High. And he is retired from Child Protective Services here in Sonoma County. And we certainly need more guys like him guarding the welfare of our youth around here. Let's see, who else? Okay. Oh, um, David Rubin, MD, the world's finest pulmonary physician, who was a lung researcher, and he did put in some clinical hours. He and I roomed together back in 1977, 78 in San Francisco. And he was doing his research and clinical hours up at UC San Francisco, up in Parnassus Heights. And then he eventually retired from that and went to work for GlaxoSmithKline, setting up clinical studies for them, and then eventually retired from them. And now he's pursuing his artistic life after medicine. Okay, go to davidrubinpaintings.com. And if you want to check out his rather unique take on reality, go to, on YouTube, davidrubinpaintings.com, and you'll see a couple of live performances of his in Chicago, combining his artwork with kind of jazz poetry readings geared toward whatever his paintings are meant to depict. And the one that I was looking at had a 1950s feel about it, with a bass and a drum and one guitarist that was kind of a beat accompaniment to his singing, sort of, reading, sort of, and I think you'll enjoy it. So go to davidrubinspaintings.com on both YouTube and Facebook, and you'll see them. Okay. The rest of these shout-outs are to friends, acquaintances, and relatives that have indicated that occasionally they do listen into this show, and I've even gotten some feedback, which is always appreciated, pro or con. And here we go. Dave and Rosie Takach, Kevin and Lori Burke, up in Katati, and Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol. I went to Thanksgiving dinner with my son's wife's aunt and uncle, who are over in Sebastopol. He's the guy that barbecued the ducks, and the rest of the dinner was the usual accoutrement along with the meat dish. The duck was delicious. Okay, Tom and Nancy Throw, Thro, here in Petaluma, and down to Tiburon, Dennis and Megan, and San Francisco, Yvonne and Rick, and then over to Pacifica, Stan and Kathy Gustafson. He was the city attorney of Daly City. He's retired now. One of the smartest guys in the whole wide world. Okay. And down in L.A., Aunt Jackie and Samantha and her little boy David, and Samantha's sister, Melanie. Oh, boy. She's actually living in Austin, Texas, but she's on vacation right now over in Europe. So, Melanie, if you see this, enjoy your well-earned vacation. Arkansas, Shannon Reed. Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell. And over in the east side of Florida, um, okay, brain freeze. Oh man, this is so maddening. Anyway, up to Raleigh-Durham area for where Dr. David Rubin lives, and then Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. As you can probably figure out, I'm doing this without notes now. Amelia Beamer, okay, in Florida on the East Coast. She's a novelist, an editor, and an advice giver to budding writers and novelists. Okay? And then back here on the West Coast, up to Sonora, Robert Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their two offspring, Brad and Martha, and Darl Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, and Lynn Quayle, who splits her time between Manhattan, where she owns an apartment that's rent controlled, and Sonora. Boy, what a contrast in places to live. Wow. Okay. And then further up, Highway 108 to the small town of Twain Harte, John Gleason and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer. And occasionally they listen in, and I don't know where they are right now. Tiffany is a African history scholar, specifically the country of Benin, and I can't remember right now the language that is spoken in Benin, but anyway, she speaks it, and all the way down in Mexico City, who is okay, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete, and she's not a big fan of Claudia Sheinbaum, who is now the president of Mexico, and I hope she stands her ground on her tariff war that the orange sociopathic bloat bag is trying to make with Canada and Mexico, and to a certain extent China, and the immigration issue. I hope President Claudia stands up to the bully of the bullying bloat bag. Okay. All right. So that's all my introduction, and let's get to the meat of the program. Okay. Good news. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum hits back at the orange sociopathic bloat bag. This is a quote from her. 70% of the illegal weapons seized from criminals in Mexico came from your country, meaning the United States. We do not produce these weapons, nor do we consume synthetic drugs. Tragically, it is in our country that lives are lost to the violence resulting from meeting the high demand for drugs in your country. All right, that's exactly right. And I hope that Mexico, the country, thrives under Claudia Sheinbaum's leadership. Okay. Uh, Good news. The National Labor Relations Board has outlawed mandatory meetings in which employees are forced to listen to anti union diatribes by management. Um, Captive audience meetings are the name for these meetings that it used to be that employees were forced to go to. They're now halted until the orange sociopathic bloat bag will undoubtedly try to reinstate them. Mm. Um, Bad news. Okay, Georgia has fired its entire maternal mortality committee. Now, there's an error in my notes. I wrote more extensively on that topic on my next page of notes, and forgetting that I had already written this down. Okay, so I will get to that topic in another 5 minutes or so. Good news. International flights began yesterday from Copenhagen to Nuuk, Greenland, which is the capital of Greenland. The Greenland's international airport now. Air Greenland is the airline that services them. Okay, flights from Canada and the United States are soon to follow. Okay? Good news for Greenlanders. Bad news. Here's that other article that I was talking about. Bad news. Georgia, probably Republicans, dismissed all members of the state's maternal mortality committee after ProPublica, which is a great news gathering organization, obtained internal details of 2 deaths of pregnant women because of their stupid anti-abortion laws that allow practically no exceptions to doctors to deal with complications. Dr. Kathleen Toomey, commissioner of the Georgia Department of Public Health, is the author of the dismissal letter that was sent to each of the 30 or so members of this committee. An investigation couldn't find out who leaked the internal documents of the committee's investigation into the 2 women's deaths. So all committee members were dismissed. Punish them all if they can't find out who leaked the dreaded letter to the members. Let's see, what is this? Every state has a maternal mortality committee to investigate deaths of women during pregnancy and to determine whether the death could have been prevented. Georgia had 32 members of this committee. They were volunteers from various medical backgrounds and were paid a small honorarium for their participation. Committee slots are now being filled with anti-abortion activists in GOP MAGA states. One critic described Georgia's move as a, quote, attempt to conceal the deadly consequences of Georgia's abortion ban. In Texas, Dr. Ingrid Skop, Skop, stated she recognizes the personhood of embryos and child rape victims as young as 9 or 10 can carry a pregnancy safely to term. She was appointed to the Texas Maternal Mortality Committee. Maternal deaths in Texas between 2019 to 2022 has increased 56%, and in the rest of the country, it only increased 11%. Are you happy now, Christian fundamentalists? Pro-life creeps? Are you happy now? Okay, wait. I'm going to have to take a sip here. Excuse me for just a moment. This is just water. Okay, this is a good quote I ran across from actor Hugh Laurie. He is the actor that portrayed House on the TV series of that name. Quote, faith, that's another word for ignorance. I've never understood how people can be so proud of believing in something with no proof at all. Like that's an achievement. Unquote. Bad news. Linda McMahon, the orange sociopathic bloatbag's pick for Secretary of Education, was sued for allegedly enabling sexual abuse of children by an employee of her WWE company. Their employee at WWE, Melvin Phillips, was peculiarly and unnaturally interested in young boys, and they retained him. And I don't know the details of this, but apparently there were some of the boys, this dates from back in the 1990s. There were some young boys that in their later years decided to sue the WWE. Okay? And Linda McMahon was on the State Board of Education in Connecticut. And it turns out that she had lied to them about her having an education degree. So she was dismissed when that came to light. It's so typical of the orange sociopathic bloat bags appointments. Bad news and bomb threats. The worshippers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag have targeted 6 members of Congress from Connecticut with bomb threats. A few picks for the bloat bag's cabinet have also received threats, presumably from some lefty groups. Usually it's the right-wing, ignorant worshippers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag that feel it's their patriotic duty to make life difficult for Democrats and progressives and left-wingers. And apparently some left-wingers are beginning to send out these bomb threats themselves. You shouldn't do that. Don't stoop as low as the MAGA heads. That's my admonition to lefties and progressives. Since the orange sociopathic bloat bag came onto the political scene in the 2010s, the worst instincts of the electorate have been unleashed. It really all began with the birtherism and the racist Tea Party and their threats against Barack Obama. And the hate-filled GOP is insisting on including his middle name, Hussein, when referring to them. Every time, now going back to the Obama administration, every time you heard some Fox News jerk mention Obama, they would always say Barack Hussein Obama. And when the Tea Party creeps gathered to, hold up signs protesting Obama's left-wing tax policies, according to them, they would hold up signs with artwork depicting Obama as their imaginations of what a native African looked like, bone through the nose, grass skirts, things like that. And nobody can tell me anymore that the Tea Party organization back in the early 2010s were not absolute racists. The orange sociopathic bloat bag became the face of a new kind of lying, hate-filled Republican to the detriment of us all in this country. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party should both thrive. I mean, I am favoring the Democrats, but there needs to be a opposition party. So I would be very happy if the Democrats gained a majority in the Senate and the House and the presidency, with the Republicans a sort of minority opposition party. That would be great for this country, in my opinion. Great news. Generational smoking ban is a thing now. A handful of Massachusetts lawmakers have proposed a law to expand a ban on tobacco use beyond the age of 21 as it is now. Sales of tobacco products would be gradually phased out over time. As the birth date proceeds, right now it's 2007. 2007, 2017, 2000. Well, okay. The math of this is escaping me right now, but there are towns in Massachusetts that have already done this, and it seems to be working. A dozen or so towns in Massachusetts have already instituted this ban. Currently, about 10% of Massachusetts adults smoke tobacco products. Let's get rid of that 10%. Okay. Bad news for Texas women and girls. OBGYN doctors are fleeing the state because of their strict abortion ban laws in that backwards state. This is a quote from one doctor. Quote, "The standard of care can now be construed as a felony," one doctor said. And I don't know his name, but when Republicans and Christian fundamentalists get control of our country, we are all doomed. Okay. Okay, another sip. Boy. Good and accurate history news. Since 1566, the Ottoman Turkish Empire, and I'm not quite sure what exactly happened in 1566. The article that I was reading just mentioned that date. It may have been when the Ottomans, under Othman, Othman, led his Turkish people to overthrow the the last of the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantines. I'm not sure. I will find out exactly what happened in that year and get back to you. But anyway, since 1566, the Ottoman Turkish Empire owned the area of the Balkan states, North Africa, lands on either side of the Red Sea, and the Levant, which is the province the Romans named Palestina, okay, which is where Lebanon and Israel and Syria now is. Okay. Wealthier Arabs and wealthier Jews began buying up tracts of land in the early 1800s. And who were they buying it from? Well, the Ottoman Caliphate, okay, the government, okay, these lands that were suitable for farming or grazing. Each group, Arabs and Jews, owned about 6 to 8% of this Ottoman province. They had purchased it from the Ottoman government. The rest was called state lands, owned directly by the Ottoman government. Some of it were, in fact, controlled by Arabs or Jews and used for light farming and goat grazing. I guess there were some cattle grazing going on too, camel grazing. A lot of it was just desert lands, unsuitable for either grazing or farming, especially in the southern areas, which is now the Negev Desert, which blends into Saudi Arabia now. Okay, when the Ottoman Empire was on the losing side in World War II, Germany and Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire were the Axis countries, I guess, against France, England, and then later us, the U.S. Okay, when the Ottoman Empire lost in World War I, the League of Nations, newly created, awarded Great Britain a mandate over Palestine and Iraq, what's now Iraq. The British, in their infinite wisdom, gave Transjordan to the Hashemites, a family of rulers that also were the protectors of Mecca, the holy city of the Islamic religion, the Hashemites, to rule over in 1921. And Great Britain kept the area of what's now Israel and Palestine for them to, in theory, bring law and order and instructions to the local populace on how to be a democratic country. Okay. After World War II, the UN, the United Nations, put forth a partition plan in 1947 after various Arab-Jewish clashes during the 1920s and 1930s. The Jews accepted this partition. The Arabs did not. Israel was declared an independent nation by the Jewish people on May 15th, 1948. And immediately, Arab armies from 5 Arab countries attacked. Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and I can't think of the 5th country. Okay, that's not in my notes. But all of the Arab countries attacked Israel in an attempt to wipe them off the map. Well, Israel won. And so in March of 1949, the Arab-Israeli First War ended. In 1950, Jordan annexed the West Bank, and Egypt began controlling Gaza. They did not annex it like Jordan did. And then in 1964, the Soviet Union invited representatives of the Arabs that were living in the old British Mandate of Palestine, led by, oh boy, I'm off my notes now, Yasser Arafat. They invited him to Moscow to train him in communist Marxist ideology, so that they envisioned the Arab nation of Palestine to be a communist foothold in the Middle East. Okay. And they convinced him to call the Arabs living in this area, which was essentially the West Bank and Gaza, they convinced him to begin calling the Arabs Palestinians. And then the rest, unfortunately, is history. Okay. I've sort of run out of my notes now. So I will see you guys again next week. This will be the first week in December, and this program will be broadcast out on radio, kpca.fm worldwide on December 1st, Sunday, at the usual time, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on YouTube as soon as I can get this downloaded. Okay, so I will see you again, ranting as usual and trying to find more good news next week. So here's my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. I will be so glad after the first of the year when my son and his wife, Megan, move in here. They're remodeling the upstairs master bedroom right now during their free time because they have a cat who is the sister out of the same litter as my previous cat who passed away, about 4 months ago now. So I enjoy having a cat around. So if my listeners out there have a few bucks lying around after the holiday season, go to oh boy, brain freezes. I love them. Patreon, and look up Petaluma Community Access and just send them a few bucks. I don't see any of it, but it helps support community access. So take care, everybody. Have a good week in December, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.